Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While, a show in which I chat with really cool people about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate personal and professional change. And today's topic is how to replace frustration and overwhelm with happiness. And this conversation is worth your while if you'd love to be your best self. Wake up happy in the morning, enjoy instead of just endure life, be a positive role model, and help to make the world a better place. Because living in frustration and overwhelm is paralyzing, and it keeps us from being our best, and it keeps us from enjoying life. And because you have very important things to get into this world, and they require your best self. And you can help make the world a better place by being a better you. And also because the world isn't going to get less stressful. So we've got to de-stress ourselves and live happy lives in spite of what's going on around us. So today we're going to cover how the long tentacles of frustration and overwhelm impact our bodies, our minds, and our lives. We're going to talk about the root causes of frustration and overwhelm, because once you understand the true root causes, you can stop treating the symptoms and actually eliminate the problem at its root. And then finally, we're going to talk exactly about how you can replace frustration and overwhelm with happiness. So let's start with some introductions. I am Linda Bucher. I'm a heart-centered master coach and a mindset mentor. I'm also a transformative speaker and an author. And if you're excited about making a positive impact on the world, and if you feel there's a bigness inside of you that you're meant to share, and if you want to do more, be more, and have more joy, more fun, more balance, and more impact, then you should connect with me. Because in order to unleash the bigness that's inside of you and to make that impact on the world and live a balanced, rewarding life, you've got to get out of your own way. You've got to get clear. You've got to lighten your load and focus your energy and your gifts. And I have today the pleasure of being joined by Susan Petang of the Quiet Zone. Susan helps working moms to develop the habits they need to wake up happy in the morning. Hello, Susan. How are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you today? I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for being here, and I am great. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about who you do, or what you do, and who you serve?
Well, what I do is I help working moms get through tough days in one piece. I know what that feels like because that's who I was for many, many years. I was a single working mom, and I know how stressful and overwhelming and frustrating that can be. I also suffer from anxiety and depression, and that just threw a whole other level of upset and frustration into the mix. So I started taking antidepressants and having therapy, and you know what? It didn't work. It did help, but it didn't work. And I decided to figure out what did work and then bring that to other working moms and help them.
Beautiful. So you are giving your gifts to the world. You have gotten out of your own way, probably by learning some amazing tools and some of the things that we're going to share with our audience today. So congratulations for stepping into your own power and helping yourself. It's a very beautiful thing. And I was also a single working mom, widowed mom, so for many years, and I totally felt that frustration and overwhelm. So that brings us right into these long tentacles, right? Frustration and overwhelm impacts our bodies, impacts our minds, and impacts our lives. What has been your experience, either personally or with your clients, and about how far-reaching these tentacles of frustration and overwhelm can be?
Oh, well, they can be very far-reaching. There's a whole self-worth issue that develops because we have a tendency, once we fall down and stumble, and then we fall down and stumble again, and we fall down and stumble again, we feel like it's a pattern and that we're not good enough, we can't get out of the pattern, that I'm always going to be this way. So when we get frustrated, we get overwhelmed, it creates that self-worth issue. It also creates those health issues too. I know I suffered for a long time with irritable bowel syndrome, and there are a whole host of physical results that can happen from being stressed out and overwhelmed too frequently. There are dumps of cortisol, which make you gain weight. There are dumps of adrenaline, which can have an impact on your heart, and you could put yourself at risk for a stroke, and your blood pressure can go up. So there are those physiological responses that we get too. And then also, there's just the whole example that we're setting for our kids. Sometimes I look back on that and say, wow, it's a miracle my kids grew up to be happy, healthy human beings, because I wasn't setting a good example for them, on how to deal with stress and how to deal with life and how to deal with things. So there are a whole bunch of impacts that can happen to both us and our children and the people around us.
I completely agree. When I took a giant step in my own life to de-stress, 22 pounds came off of my body, and I was eating more ice cream than ever. Yet the pounds were going away because those pounds were all stress pounds. My gallbladder wasn't working very well and they wanted to take it out. And when I took that big giant step to de-stress my life, it's totally better now. There's nothing wrong with my gallbladder. It's working top notch like it's supposed to. I also had physical back and neck pain that was basically debilitating. I couldn't sit through a meeting at work. I couldn't sleep for more than about 15 minutes at a time without waking up in pain because I had to move. And that, when I took that big giant step to de-stress my life, that got about 85 to 90% gone. Yeah. So it was really, really amazing. So I know firsthand those stressors and what they can do to your body. As far as the self-worth goes, it definitely contributes. Everybody in the world has some kind of perception issue with their worthiness. We get it when we're small kids, but that's for another conversation. However, when we do fall, when we do have that stress, when we can't seem to make things better, all that does is feed that misperception of our worthiness, that we're not good enough. So I completely agree that it feeds that. And these long tentacles as well, like it causes us to not be our best selves with our children or with our peers or at work or in any of our other relationships. And when we can't be our best selves, I mean, first of all, we know they deserve our best self, right? We know this. But if this is all we can do is just be this frustrated, overwhelmed person, we're not setting that good example for our children, like you mentioned. And then we're not happy with who we are, and we're not happy with what's going on. And it makes us feel very disempowered. When we do not really need to be. So that's going to bring us to talking about these root causes. This is our second part of our chat today, because a lot of times people try to fix the symptoms, right, of overwhelm and of frustration. And you think other people have to fix it too. You think it's like outside of you. When this changes and those people change, I won't be frustrated and overwhelmed anymore. So we're giving our power away to other people, which never works, because you can't rely on other people to get rid of your frustration, because happiness is an inside job, not an outside job. So let's talk about the true causes of frustration and overwhelm so that we can help people to stop trying to treat the symptoms of it or hope and wait that someone else is going to fix it, and actually, understand what's at the root cause so that that's where they can address it. So what, in your experience, do you recognize as a root cause of frustration and overwhelm?
I'm going to say, well, we talked a little bit about self-worth, but that's kind of it's a cycle, because your self-worth can affect how overwhelmed and frustrated you are, which can affect your self-worth. A lot of this comes from mindset. And you touched on it just a moment ago. A lot of those root causes are things that we learned when we were kids. And that's why it's important for us to stop that cycle, so our kids don't end up repeating our behavior, which is us repeating our parents' behavior, which is them repeating their parents' behavior. So it becomes this generational, familial gift that we give to each other, but it's a mindset issue. When we're kids, we learn how to be a woman by watching our mom. We learn how to be a man by watching our dad. We learn how to be a husband or a wife by watching our parents, or the adults that were impactful in our lives. So that's where we learn, before we're even 5. We learn how to interact with the rest of the world and with each other, and also how we should feel about ourselves by watching our parents and how they treated themselves. So that's where a lot of this comes from. And that either gets reinforced or not reinforced by the experiences that we have as adolescents and young adults. So what happens is, what we send out into the world, we attract back. So when we are unable to to deal with those frustrations and the stress, okay, it's not the problem that's the problem. It's what we do with the problem that makes it a problem. It's how we view it. It's how we look at it. It's those attitudes. It's just like that old expression, looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. Well, would you rather look at the world through rose-colored glasses or crap-colored glasses? Because that's how you don't deal with the stress and you don't deal with the problems of life, and it becomes overwhelm and frustration.
Right. So I'll take the word frustration first. So frustration happens when what's happening and your expectation are not in alignment. Okay. That's when we get frustrated. We want this, but that is what's happening.
Right.
And so sometimes we've got to shift our expectations, especially if we are expecting someone else or something else to change. Not only is that totally outside of our control, but what someone else does or says is basically their business and not our business. We wouldn't want someone, trying to influence how we think or what we do. And so when we're trying to do that for somebody else, we're in their business, and that's not really kind. So I think it's Maya Angelou has a really beautiful quote. She says, the first time someone shows you who they are, believe them. So we want to make sure that our expectations and reality are aligning, which means just let go of the expectations, notice what reality is, and stop arguing with it. And once you stop arguing with reality, you can eliminate so much frustration. It's amazing. So that's what I say about the frustration piece. When it comes to the overwhelm piece, overwhelm happens when there's too much, too soon, too quick, all at the same time, right? Happening. And for women a lot, we say yes when we really mean no. And we say yes mostly because of that self-worth issue that we were touching upon. We're trying to hustle for approval, hustle for worth. We want, if we can say yes, then maybe our kids will like us better and we'll feel like we're being a better mom. Yeah. If we can say, yes to our boss, then, even though we don't really have any time to do it, maybe we can, impress the boss and get a promotion, right? We say yes when we really mean no, but what we're trying to do is impress other people. Here we are again, being in their business. How they choose to see us through their lens. I'll use your example of the lens, right? Of the glasses. How everybody sees anything, me, you, anybody, is through the lens of perception. And our perception is tainted by our own personal experiences, how we view those, and our fears and insecurities. And so your boss, your children, your other relationships in your life are going to only see you through their lens. They cannot see you for the reality of who you are. They can only see you through their lens, their perceptions. So when you stop trying to manage their perception of you, overwhelm goes away. But you won't stop trying to manage their perception of you until A, you understand that you can't manage it anyway, and B, you stop worrying about what other people think of you, which only comes through true self-acceptance. So when you have true self-acceptance and you honestly can say, it doesn't really matter what other people think of me. I know me and I like who I am and I love who I am. And once you get there, which requires you to deal with that self-worth crap, and it's just a perception thing, which I help people get through all the time. Once you can say that with quiet confidence, not with that crazy, I'm all that in a bag of chips, like, but like that quiet confidence, then you actually stop prostituting yourself. That's how I would explain it. And saying yes when you mean no, and taking on things, right, that don't serve you. And you can let go without that worry of losing important relationships in your life, because they're going to love you when they see you being your true self, right? And when you're not your true self, they're loving an imposter, and that never feels good to you. And then you're trying to hustle to keep that up. And when you just are who you are, then the relationships, people love you for who you are. And it's just relieving. There's so much less pressure on your shoulders, and you will start saying no, and not even no because I remember telling my children, no is a complete sentence. I don't need to give you an explanation, right? Those are some of the root causes of frustration and overwhelm. And now let's get to the nitty gritty, to the meat of our conversation today. How do you replace frustration and overwhelm with happiness? So I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. Happiness is not a goal. Okay. You can't find happiness like you can learn how to play a guitar or how you can learn a skill for work. It doesn't work that way. If you are reaching out and trying to grab happiness, you're gonna lose every time. I promise you. What happiness is, it's a byproduct of being mindful, grateful, and positive.
Mm.
And I don't mean positive in a happy, happy, joy, joy, Ren and Stimpy in the cat box kind of way. Positivity is only the knowledge that no matter what happens, you're going to get through it in one piece, and that everything tends to work out in the end, because it does. If you look back at your life and you look at the losses that you had in your life, they always seem to turn into some better opportunity, didn't they? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And when you are mindful, grateful, and positive, the byproduct is happiness. And I found that out just because I was trying not to be stressed out.
Right.
And there's another reason. Okay. The law of attraction, okay, is not woo-woo, it's science. And here's why. I actually call it the new car factor. When you buy a new car, all of a sudden you drive around and you start seeing all the other ones just like it on the road, right? And it's like the Jolly Green Giant just didn't come down out of the sky and go and drop all those cars in front of you. They've always been there. The difference is that now that model is familiar to you. So what's going to happen is when you start being mindful, grateful, and I mean grateful for the little minutiae in life too, not necessarily just the big things. I'm grateful. Yesterday, I was really grateful that I managed to avoid 2 slow moving cars while I was going to the store. Yay. Okay. Gratitude. Okay. Gratitude for little wee things. Mindful, grateful, positive. When you send that out into the world, we communicate with other people via body language, microfacial expressions. A very small part of what our communication is actually words. So other people who are also mindful, grateful, positive are going to find you familiar. Your attitude, the way you approach life, what you bring to the table in your interactions is going to be familiar to them, and they are going to find you attractive. So you can say bye-bye to the psychic vampires and the bullies because they're going to run away because you don't have anything for them. That's number one. And then you're going to start noticing all the little everyday miracles that happen every day that we don't notice. Okay. Example, I took my car. I have a wonderful mechanic. He's fantastic. He's really cheap. He's excellent. And he's booked up for weeks. And I needed to get my car inspected. So I called him up 2 weeks in advance. And I said, hey, Mike, I want to bring the car in for inspection. When can I do that? He said, oh, bring it in today. I actually have a really light day today. I'll do it while you wait. That never happens. Okay. My husband left his car there once for 3 days just for an oil change. Everyday miracle. Okay. Everyday miracle. And you will start to see those as your mindful, grateful, positive. And the byproduct of that is going to be happiness. Happiness isn't something that you go for. Happiness is something that happens to you.
I love that. I've heard the expression, which I don't remember where I heard it, so I don't know who to give credit to, but happiness is not a destination. It's a manner of traveling.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
I like.
Yeah. So I love that you brought up mindful. Mindful means to be focused on and on what's good and what's right, because we can't be in love and in fear at the same time. We can't be in love and in frustration at the same time. We can't be in love and in overwhelm at the same time. Our brains can't do that many things all at one time. So what you focus on becomes your experience. When you are mindful of how you're feeling and what's going on around you, then you can choose the positive things to focus on, the things to be grateful about. And so what you're really doing is freeing up capacity, right, in order to make room for what's next and what's positive. That's what happens when you get out of your own way and you leave what's the root causes of frustration over, when you get over those and you stop doing the things that are causing those, the things that are within your power that we explained in our second bullet point today. So happiness happens based on what you focus on. When you focus on the positive things, and it doesn't mean the negative things aren't happening around you. it's like there might be a storm around you, but you're the calm in the storm. You're the calm that your children can see. You're the calm that other relationships in your life, people can see. Wow, she's in the same shit storm I'm in. Why is she so positive and calm and happy? And it's because we no longer rely on the outside world to make us happy. We find that happy in between. It is that manner of traveling and has everything to do with what we are focusing on. And I agree that when you focus on something, positive, when you try to look for it and you find it, now you're using some of your capacity that day in a positive way. Your experience at the end of the day is going to be much more positive. Even if you're sitting at a traffic jam, how you see this traffic jam, and I wish I could remember this name. There's a Japanese word that means like, bonus time. And so I know that I've heard that in the Japanese culture, they will go somewhere early, so they create this bonus time, right? So if you're in a traffic jam, you can think of it like, this is bonus time. I've got 5 more minutes on this commute, right? What am I going to choose to do with my bonus time? Or you can choose to be frustrated and think about how you're going to be late and all the people that are going to be upset that you're late, or whatever. What are you going to think about in that extra 5 minutes of that traffic jam? You be mindful, be grateful. I'm positive that I actually have the means to have a car, that I have, the health to be driving the car, right? Whatever we can be, grateful and positive about. So shifting your focus is the key, a big giant key to happiness, focusing on what's right, what's good. Don't give any lip service to what's not, because you're going to attract more of it, right? Whatever you focus on is your point of attraction. So when you focus on and you're telling everybody the same story over and over, oh, guess what happened to me today? This terrible thing, blah, blah, blah. Why would you want to keep reliving that experience? It was negative the first time. Now, the second time you tell it, it's still, negative. You're feeling the same emotions. The third time, everyone you tell, stop spreading what's wrong. Don't tell everybody that. You already went through it once. If you need to vent one more time, that's it. We don't need to focus on that, because why would you want to feel those emotions again? You don't. You want to feel happiness. So retell the stories of happiness. A lot of times I use this tool. A client might tell me a story of something that was very difficult, and I say, how would a comedian spin that to tell it as a funny story? And I give them homework. They have to write that down as a comedic story. So that's just a shift in mindset, right? To say, okay.
I ask my clients to find what positive came out of that negative. What lesson did you learn from it? Okay. Well, now I know not to take that route to work. Now I know I should leave 5 minutes earlier, because believe it or not, 5 minutes here I live on Long Island. Oh my goodness, 5 minutes can make a huge difference in the amount of traffic. What are the lessons you can learn from that? What can you take forward from that? Even if it's only that I'm a battle-tested warrior queen and I survived a traffic jam, there's always something.
Right. Yeah. I use an exercise where I'll have my clients list 10 gifts that came out of something terrible. 10. And they don't think there is 10. And the first 2 or 3 are kind of obvious. It's when you get beyond the, maybe to the 4th or 5th one, and you have to really start to dig deep, that you finally realize the amazing gifts that come out of difficult things. Now it is 2020, right? But because of that, now you can go back and look at your history, look at those experiences that were difficult, and find those gifts, and you will see them different, and you will begin to shift your mindset and you'll stop identifying as a victim and begin to identify as a hero. It's a very beautiful shift. I have taken many people through that, and it's so amazing, because victims have 0 power and heroes have all of the power. And I love to feel powerful over my own happiness. So yeah, this has been such a beautiful conversation, Susan. Thank you so much for being on Conversations Worth Your While. I know that you have like a course that you offer people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's called Happiness Habits to Beat Stress and Burnout. Because and you know what this is like. When you are a single working mom, there is no time, there is no money, and you are stressed out and overwhelmed, right? So what I did was I built this course with working moms in mind. It is self-paced, so you can do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you wake up and you say, you know what, I'm going to just watch the video, or I'm going to read the worksheet. You can do it whenever you want. It's online. It's reasonably priced. And what I did was I broke into wee little bite-sized bits, so they're A, not overwhelming, and B, so that you can make happiness a habit, because that's how we develop habits, isn't it? By practicing those little tiny things over and over again. So it's bite-sized bits that you can practice whenever you are free. And I know it's a life changer, because these are the skills that I use to change my life.
Yes, exactly. We're speaking from experience, both of us. We were
Yes.
both overwhelmed, stressed out, frustrated, and we both felt those physical and emotional and mental difficulties associated with them. So, and so we know the way. And I love that you've created something that's bite-sized, because when I was in the midst of all that, that's all I could do was bite-sized. I didn't have enough capacity left in the day to take any big, giant steps.
Yeah.
So that's very beautiful. And I will put the link to your website so people can get this course right into the description.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. And once again, I am Linda Bucher, helping you to lighten your load, unleash the bigness inside of you, and make an impact while living a balanced, rewarding life. You can contact me for a one-on-one connection call through the Contact Us form on my website, lindabucher.com. I will put the link to that also into the description. So once again, I'd like to thank Susan Petang of the Quiet Zone. I'd like to thank you, our audience, for sharing your time with me today. Please subscribe, and remember to check the description, where you'll find our contact information and the resources that we have for you. And until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.